Hi, I'm Frances Proctor, otherwise known as Angel Eyes Online. Welcome to this edition of Xara Plus Filter Forge. Today I have a caffeine fix for your photos. I'm going to take a photo and show you how to use Xara to do some basic edits like cropping and straightening quickly and intuitively. And I'm also going to show you how to use one of Xara's newest tools to work on specific areas of the photo based on color selection. Then I'll take it into Filter Forge and show you how to take a pre-made filter and edit it to give the photo an artistic effect. Are you ready? Let's get started. The photo I'm going to be using today is this lovely shot taken in a local waterfront park by my husband, Bill Proctor. As you can see, it's a very large, high-resolution JPEG taken straight from the camera and dropped into a default page in Xara. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to resize this down and we'll zoom into the page. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this photo, resize it down to the size that our finished image is going to be. Now, as you can see, we've got this shadow down here, which kind of distracts from this lovely structure of this fence, which I really quite like. And I'm actually going to try and highlight that for the effect. And also, you might notice is that it is slightly crooked. It's hard to see because of the sloping of the parkland here down to the waterfront, but I can tell it's there. So I'm going to show you a really quick way that we're going to fix this. Now, I'm going to select the fill tool. And as you can see now I've got fill handles showing here. As Xara is a vector drawing program, even though this is a photo, it's basically a rectangle with a bitmap fill. And a bitmap fill can very easily and intuitively be adjusted in Xara. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make this bigger, which will allow me to crop out most of the shadow. I'll leave a little bit of the shadow down here. And the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to, if you don't have the rulers enabled, you will need to do that from Window, Bars, and make sure Rulers is checked. I'm going to drag a guideline down from the rulers, and I'm going to put the guideline just over the shoreline here. Now you can see that it is slightly out. So click to bring up our fill handles, and I'm going to pull this over here so you can see, and I am just going to slightly rotate this and zoom in. That looks good. Now our shoreline lines up nicely with our guideline. Now I'm going to pull the photo down just a bit. And bring it over. Okay, now this is pretty much the image I'm going to use. We can now get rid of the guideline, drag it back up to the rulers, and that's gone. Now before we apply the Filter Forge effects to this, I'm going to show you another little trick that you can do if you've got one of the newest versions of either Designer Pro X, or I believe this feature is also in Photo and Graphic Designer 2013. So I'm going to go up here to my photo tools, and I am going to click the Color Select Erase tool. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in here a bit, and I really like the look of this stonework, but I want to bring it up a bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find kind of a mid-tone area, somewhere here on the stonework and just click with the color select eraser. Now if I zoom out, you can see that quite a bit of the photo here has been selected. And I've got all of this area up in here where I don't really want to apply the effect to. So I'm going to undo this and I'm going to show you how to use the masking tool, and we're going to quickly mask it out so we only get the areas that we want. So down here I'm going to click the mask button. Now this puts a pink overlay over the whole photo, the whole document. And we can draw in this area with pretty much any of the photo tools, or drawing tools rather, sorry. By default, your freehand tool is selected. You can use the pen tool, the shape editor tool, or if you've got Designer Pro X, you can even use the shape builder tool. I'm just going to quickly use the shape tool. I'll start here, here, and I'm just going to quickly, as I'm going to be selecting this by color rather than using this mask to actually select it for editing, I can get away with not having to be extremely accurate here, which really can speed up the process of masking this out. And I'll bring this back here, and when the little black plus sign shows up, another click, and now I have my mask. Now let's go back to our color select tool, and I'll zoom in and I'll try and find a mid kind of tone here again, and I will click it. And now you can see that I'm selecting the tones only within the area where I have masked off. I'm getting a little extra up in here because I wasn't extremely accurate there. For time's sake, I'm not going to bother with that today. But you could be a little bit more accurate and spend a little bit more time on that if you need to. Now I'm actually going to select another mid-tone down here in the cobblestones because I want to bring these up too. And the more of these black dots that I put on, the more areas that we get selected to bring up. Now how I'm going to bring out the texture here is I'm going to click this button up here and make a soft mask. And I'm going to go back to the Enhance Photo Tools, and I'm simply going to use the Sharpening tool. And I'm going to sharpen it up a bit. And the other thing I am going to do now is I'm going to adjust the color tones just a bit. I'm going to make it a bit warmer. Increase the saturation, and over here I'll make it a bit warmer. Add a bit more contrast, not too much. And maybe we'll brighten it up a bit. And as you can see, we haven't affected the majority of the lovely colors in the background, but we have definitely brought up this stonework and made this stonework really pop out a bit more. So now I am going to go back to my selector tool, and now we're ready to head into Filter Forge. So we'll select the Live Effects, click New, and we'll go to Filter Forge. And this looks like it's being just slightly a bit laggy here. I guess because of my recording. Alright. Now this is the filter that I am going to be, the effect that we are going to be applying in the end. But it's not, but I'm going to show you how I achieve this effect. And the first thing you're going to need to do is to go to the FilterForge filter library. And we're going to download a filter that's from the library. To do that, we can very simply and easily click the filter library link up here. And this will open the filter library page on the filterforge.com website. Now, if you're looking for a specific filter, you can easily search for it by using keywords and click the search button. Or, as this is a fairly recent filter to the library, I know how to easily find it in the recent files. So we'll go recent, and I'm going to go down here. And this is the filter we're going to be using today. This one is called Caffine. And basically what this filter does, I'll click on it to open it up here, is it recreates an effect that is achieved in a film developing process where they actually use caffeine and vitamin C to develop their film. Yes, some of them actually do use coffee and orange juice, believe it or not, to develop their film. And it gives them some of these unique and interesting effects. I thought it would be kind of cool to add a little bit of color as well to these effects. And to do that, we are going to have a look at our first look at the filter editor in FilterForge, and I'm going to show you how we're going to tweak this filter a little bit. So to go back to FilterForge, we're simply going to click the Open this filter in FilterForge button. And now this takes us back to FilterForge, and it applies the Caffine filter to our image. Now the first thing you can see is this filter is set up for a square image, and I'm getting the vignetting showing up here where we don't want it. So what I'm going to simply do there is I'm going to go into my settings, and I'm simply going to take the vignetting down until that disappears. Alright. Now, as you can see, this filter does give us lots of interesting settings that we can play with. You can bring out this reddish tone more or less using the saturation filter. You can make it more sepia tone, or even take it all the way down and make it grayscale. I'm going to leave this about midway for now. Now we're going to try and bring the color in. To do that, we're going to have to tweak this filter a little bit. So are you ready to take your first trip into the world of node editing? Let's click the filter editor button. And first it gives us a choice to create a brand new filter or to edit this filter. So I'm going to click the edit this filter button and open the editor. Alright, this is where the magic happens. Now I'm going to zoom out, and you can see the basic tree that leads us from the beginning here, which is an image, to the results panel. Now it looks really scary with all these wires crisscrossing here and this plugged into that, but really it's not. It's just basically a different way of working. So I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going to show you how the different branches of these come together. It starts over here with the image, and if I zoom in, you can see that this component is actually showing our image picked right from the image we've got selected in Xara. This is because we're running it as a plugin from Xara. And as you can see, each of these components do different things like desaturating and sharpening. We've got levels and we've got tone curves. And we've got this component here, which is assemble an RGB, which brings these different areas in and brings the some of the colors into it to create this filter. And down here, this branch here is what brings the graininess into it and the texture into it. And as you can see, this starts with a source image plucked from the other branch, and it starts with a noise filter as well. And this is one of the wonderful things that FilterForge can bring into Xara, is all kinds of noise that you can do all kinds of things with. We're no longer limited to simply clouds and plasma. And there is so much that we can do with this noise. And I'll be showing you more about that in more videos later on. So where we're going to do our editing is here at the very end, because we're going to bring in color picked from the photo itself. So to do that, I'm going to open up the Components panel by clicking the Components button up here. Now this is where we find all these little components and all the bits and pieces that we need to put together to make our filter. So I'm going to go here to the external panel, and you can see there are all kinds of things here that we can do. I'm going to bring in this image. This is where we're going to bring in our image from Xara. Now, I'm going to put this right over here. Now, you can see here we've got a blending mode here that links right into the source. We need to blend this with the image, so I'm going to go here to the processing, and this is where we've got all kinds of things like blending and blurring, an edge detector, high pass sharpening, maximum, medium, minimum, all kinds of things. Motion blurs, refractions, and smudging, and all kinds of stuff. What I'm going to use here is just a simple blend tool. Now I'm calling this a simple blend tool, but this brings into Xara something else that's really wonderful. And I'll show you here. I'm going to plug the image here into the background slot by simply just dragging from here and plugging into there. Simple, easy, not hard at all. Now we're going to make the effect as the foreground. Now before I plug this into the source, I'm just going to click on the blend component. And now every time you click on an opponent component here, you can see all the features that you've got here to work with this component. Now this shows you your foreground is mapped with this blend, and the background is mapped with the image. And I've got an opacity slider here. Down here, I've got the blending modes. And I'm going to click here to open up the list. And as you can see, There are 19 different blending modes available in Filter Forge. And this brings many extra blending modes into Xara. Some of these are the same as some of the Xara blending modes. The normal is like Xara's mix. Multiply is like the stained glass. And you'll recognize a few others that are similar to Xara's. But there's a lot more that Xara doesn't have. So this allows us many more ways to blend images together. And we can use the opacity slider to increase or decrease the opacity here as to have these images blend together. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up this controls here. And this is where you can bring in sliders and checkboxes and things to add controls to your filter. You can see this one down here has got a slider for the vignette amount. So I'm going to bring in a couple of controls here that we're going to add to our filter to make it more useful. I'm going to bring in a slider control here, and I'm going to click here, and I'm going to put that one in here into this opacity. I'm going to bring in this one, which is called an int slider. I am assuming that int is short for integer, and I am going to plug this one here into the mode. What this one will do will allow us to set the different blending modes from the filter controls. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to unplug this, and I'm going to plug this into the results. Now if I'm going to double click this, and you can see this is about where I left the blending and whatnot when I was playing around with the sliders. I'm going to click down here at this little area down here where it says filter controls. By clicking this, and I'll pull this over here so we can see a little bit more of our image. This will bring up the filter controls panel that you're going to see once you save the filter and you go back to the main interface. So you can see down here, we now have an opacity slider down here. That's this one. And we've got a mode 1 up here. And by selecting different modes, you can see how the blending looks different. And the opacity, of course, allows us to have more of the effects showing through and less of the color. So I'm going to pull this up quite a bit so we've got just basically a little bit of color showing through. Now you'll see our vignetting has come back. We'll remove that again when we get, by simply going like this. Bring that down. Alright, so now we've pretty much finished editing our filter. But I'm going to show you one more little trick. As you can see, we've got the mode up here and the opacity down here. I'd like to keep these two together because they work with the same component here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up here to the filter menu, and I'm going to click order of controls. Now this will allow us to move the controls around. So I think I'm going to click the mode and just move it down so it's down here at the bottom with the opacity. Click OK. And now you will notice our two new sliders are down here together. So let's save this filter. And let's give it a unique name. So let's call this one, how about colorized Caffeinol. Sounds good to me. Click Save. Now here's our new edited effect in Xara in the main Edit Filter Forge window. Sorry, we're not back to Xara yet. Let's go over here and play around with our settings again. Maybe we'll drop the saturation down. And you can see too that we've got settings for the white point. And a gamma setting we can use to make adjustments. All right. Okay, I've got something I kind of like here. I think I'm going to drop the noise amount down just a bit. So there's maybe a little less noise in the image. Alright, I'm going to show you now the presets panel. We have some default presets already set from the Caffeinol filter. But I like this one. And I might want to come back to this one and be able to quickly just apply this to another photo at some time. So this little arrow here will allow me to add another preset. Just click the button, and this is our new preset down here. So I can come back now and easily click this preset to apply it to another photo. So now I'm ready to apply the filter and go back to Xara. Now before I click apply, I did notice in my trials that this filter does take a couple of minutes to render. And I'm figuring it may be a little slower too while I'm recording. So I'm going to pause the recording and render this back to Xara. That didn't take as long as I thought. Alright, so now we're back in Xara, and you can see we've got this heavy black border on our effect. So first thing I'm going to do is lock this down, and I'm going to show you how we are going to quickly in Xara reduce that border. There are a number of ways we can do this, but one of my favorites is a really simple method. So I'm just going to draw a rectangle over the photo. It doesn't matter at this particular moment what exact size the rectangle is or what color it is, as long as it is within the outer borders of the black border on the photo. Now I'm going to go Control B to send that to the back, Control A to select all, and I'm going to simply tap the Q key on my clipboard to create what's called a clip view. Now this is going to allow me to easily adjust the edges of this photo to show as much or as little of the black border around it as I want. So I'm simply going to right click on here, and I'm going to select clipping shape. This actually selects within our clip view group the rectangle that is clipping the photo, and I can pull it in or pull it out if you want the edges thicker. I like a nice thin border on here. And very quickly and easily adjust the edges of the border. And that's pretty much it. We've got our pretty cool artistic looking photo effect. Thanks for watching.